That's bad.
All right, surprisingly empty shop today, which is nice. There's only the 55, which I will most likely never get to, and the Fiero. Oh, real quick, one thing. Since I posted about it on Instagram, I figured I'd show you guys too. You know, Instagram saw it first though. We got some wheels for the shop truck, and this thing looking freaking great, dude. This thing looks sweet. So like I said in one of the previous videos, I was going to get some of the Lightning reproduction wheels. Those are $1,000. Even finding used ones, there's a beat up set over in Detroit for $1,000. So I was like, for the same price, I'll just order the new ones from, I can't remember, I think it's late model Resto. But I was like, man, I really wish I could just find something used that looked good. And scrolling Marketplace, happened to find these. They're supposed to be Ultra brand, but I've tried looking them up. I can't find anything about these wheels. And all the stickers are pulled off of them. But found these for $300, talked them down to $275. They're in damn near perfect shape. Like there's no blemishes or anything, even us mounting the tires. So I got these for $275. Fit the bolt pattern perfect, which is kind of a gamble. And then I just ordered some of the cheapest tires off Amazon that I could. Fronts are 235/75s. These are 15x8s, by the way. And the rears are 265/70s. So got the height that I wanted out of them. Got a little bit of meat out back, so it has a good look to it. And I couldn't be happier with it, to be honest. I think this thing turned out killer. I still have to align the front, but believe it or not, all we've done is just mounted the tires on the tire machine over at my dad's. We haven't balanced them or anything. And they are damn near perfect. I've had the truck to 80 and it doesn't shake at all. So a win's a win. Take it when you can get it. And then while we're on the topic of tires, I got the new fronts on the Trans Am, so it doesn't have those dinky little shits on there anymore. It's been kind of tire central around here. So the shop truck is more or less done. I want to tint the windows, like I said, but it's more or less done until I get everything else done. And then I want to put a little bit of power to this thing. I don't know if I'm going to turbo the straight six just because this has an automatic transmission. And the problem with having an automatic transmission is finding an ECU that can control the engine and the transmission. I could wire up some weird stuff, get kind of creative with it, or get like a mega squirt for the engine and then a separate controller for the transmission, but then it just becomes so expensive that you're paying so much more just to be different that it's like, I don't know. So I got plenty of time to think about that, what I want to do. Obviously not in a huge rush. I think it'd be cool to turbo the straight six, but if it's going to cost me like $2,000 to just do engine management, I'm not doing that. At the end of the day, I am an LS slut, so I'll put like a 6080E in there and call her a day. Anyway, we're not working on that today. We are fucking with this thing. Because I've been working on this thing off camera. Hard to believe, right? I know. Hard to believe. But yeah, I have been working on this thing off camera to the point where, check this out. Hey. Yeah. Engine turns over with the key. Huge progress. I don't know if you guys can hear it. We have fuel pump. Just had a bad relay or something going on with it. So I need to probably wire in a different relay here. Get to a more modern, like a 4-pin. And a few other little odds and ends. And this thing's pretty dang close. So of the list of things to do before this will just fire up, not necessarily drive down the road, but just fire up, I need to get an oil filter for it, which I got the part number last night, PF48E, oil in it. I need to make the oil feed and return line. Return line will be easy. Feed line will be a little, still same level of difficulty, but a little bit more involved because it's like 17 feet long. Like I said, wire up a relay. I've got the throttle cable kind of zip tied in place. I have to make a bracket for that, but that's not going to stop it from running. some vacuum lines here and there, and I have to make a set of plug wires for that side because some of the header tubes are annoyingly close to some of the spark plug wires. So I have to figure that out. And then I think I've got a bass tune in the computer close enough, theoretically, that it should fire up once I get all that stuff taken care of. And then as far as driving it, transmission fluid, coolant lines, because you know this has the radiator up front, got the big snuffleupagus lines going under the car. I have to do a couple little, the ones at the front I think are all good. I just have to connect this Mizir water manifold to the ones on the chassis, and then wire up the fuel, or wire up the water pump. Sorry, because this has a Mizir like standalone water pump, and top off the coolant. Brakes are good, clutches all bled, should be pretty darn close. So I don't know if we're going to get it running by the end of this video, but that's kind of the goal. We'll see how long this runs. So I'm going to set the camera down. It is hot out. I am sweating and looking real gross. So I'm going to set the camera down, get to work. I'll start with the oil lines and some other stuff and a little bit of wiring, and we'll see how far we can get. I got the oil lines made to the turbo. That's all good. Did something else underneath, I don't remember. I am a huge poser, so I'm painting the ECU right now because that'll probably be fairly exposed. I'm thinking about mounting it right in here, so I didn't want this big gross gray block sitting there. Got the just some eBay ECU mounts that should be able to make work. Next up I'm working on is a bracket for the throttle cable. You can see I got it right about there, which what I think I'm going to do is get out of here, wiring. Jeez Louise. Make a bracket that locates off the bolt for the fuel rail, and then just this clips into it. It's not like it's going to have a whole lot of pressure, so I don't expect it to rotate. We'll see. And what I think I'm going to do for that is I've got this shift cable bracket that should work. Slot it right there, and then I'll have to drill a new hole to locate it, give or take there. And probably have to run a longer bolt through there, but that's not a huge deal. That one might actually work if I take the lock washer off it. So that's what I'm going to work on next, is sectioning this and drilling a new hole, mock it up if everything works, pull it off and paint it. Speaking of pull it out and paint it, I never showed you guys the big block from the motorhome. There, that looks a little bit better, huh? Nice intake, looking all clean. This is just an elbow that I've had laying around for like 2 years now that I haven't put on anything. But yeah, it looks way better. Now I just need to find something to throw it in or sell it. Anyway, I'm gonna get to work on this, drill a new hole, section that. We'll see how it turns out. All right, that's actually gonna work perfect, I think. This thing pulls it to there, no problem. I just have to get like a little, almost like a carburetor clip to snap on there. This is originally for the cruise control. This is where the throttle cable would normally go, but this is what we got, and the throw is dang near perfect, so we're gonna reuse it. Just need a little clip for that. And I was going to cut this down, but that seems to also be dang good. So I'm not gonna worry about it. Just gonna pull it back off and get it painted. I literally just drilled one hole, slotted this, cleaned up the cuts, and we're good. So that's a whole lot easier than I thought it was going to be. Barely any fabrication required for that. Like, this is the whole thing. I was going to like cut it up here, try and make it a little cleaner, but with the cable in place, I think it looks fine. So I'm just going to paint it and paint it black and put it back. So ECU's mounted, OBD2 ports mounted, fuse blocks mounted, grounded here to the chassis. So as far as the LS swap harness goes, the only thing I have left to hook up is this switch to 12 volt wire there, which, to be honest, I might run to like a toggle switch or something inside. I don't know yet. Haven't really thought that through. Oh, gosh dang it, man. The throttle cable works perfect. I don't remember where I left off on that. Also, got the oil filter. Check that box out. That's a box of the world. PF48 for this LS4 King aluminum pan. But let me show you the throttle cable. Works perfect. Goes all the way. Wah! Wah! So just have to get a little clip deal to hold that on there so it doesn't fall off. And then we're all set for that. I need to get another clip for this shift cable, which again isn't going to stop us from firing it up, but something I need to get. That's like, I don't know, $5 from the Fiero store or something like that. I could probably make one out of some sheet metal that I've got laying around. I might try that. We'll see. And then because I'm an idiot, I saved these wires thinking that these were the wires in the plug for the factory speed sensor. It's not, so we have no speedometer. I cut that on accident. So the only ones we need, chassis-wise, is this one. And I'm going to rewire this for a new relay. Sorry, it's hot out. My brain's kind of fried. I'm going to rewire this with a new relay so that it works. And we'll get that tucked up under there and loomed up, looking good. And then this other side, we'll probably just cut and wrap and tuck out of the way so that everything looks nice and kosher. And then we're pretty dang close. I'm hoping that I've got everything set up, you know, pretty good, because it's kind of a hodgepodge of different stuff, you know, like basic LS1 swap harness, cam sensors way up there instead of in the back, just a bunch of other stuff. So we'll see. So I'm gonna get back to work. Gonna figure out how I want to wire this thing up, because there's 5 wires here for a 4-wire thing. And then, like I said, I might just bundle this all up and zip tie it together and kick it out of the way. That way I don't have to cut it, you know. Down the road, might use that for something, who knows. And then we'll figure it out. That looks so much better. Well, aside from this. This is a little jumper wire I made to test a ground on the relay. But yeah, that looks so much better. A few little things could be cleaned up. No reason to get nitpicky here. But yeah, computer's tucked up there real nice. I think that spot worked out really well. Plus it hides a little spot that was rotted out that I just never got around to fixing. You can see the wires that are back there. 2 of those bundles I just got bundled up, zip tied out of the way. The other one I ran to a new fuel pump relay. That way, I figured out what was wrong with it, by the way. It was the ground wire going to the relay wasn't working, which is what that jumper wire was. Because once I got the new one wired up, it still wasn't working, and I was like, okay, I got battery power to the relay. I've got the switched wire to the relay, so it's got to be the ground. Jumped that to this little bolt here, and the fuel pump kicked right on. So I ended up just cutting that wire, running it to where I've got the ECU ground here. That way I know it's a good ground. And also those being grounded in the same spot, if the car is ever not starting and I hear that the fuel pump's not kicking on, I know that that's the best place to check. That and the grounds at the heads for LS swaps are always the first places I check. So we turn the key on. Hopefully you guys can hear it on the camera. We have fuel pump. So we are very close to firing this thing up, realistically. I need to find some plug wires that'll work for this thing and plug in the coil pack, throw some oil in it. That red wire I can just jump to the battery for right now, and then we can try and fire it up. So I'm gonna start looking for some wires and oil. All right, got plug wires on the backside. 2 of them are absolutely going to melt. I just realized that I never put the dipstick back in it, and I most likely scrapped it, which is okay. I'm just going to get a flexible one off of Amazon for like 20 bucks, 25 bucks, whatever they are, and probably run it up through here, bolt it to the head, something like that. Got some oil to put in it. It's a 7-quart pan, so got 8 quarts there. Filters on it. I shimmed the starter a little bit because when I was under it, I noticed that the gear was stuck out in the flywheel, so this oil pan came with 4 shims to put in, so I put in 2. Should still be good. We'll see. I have to cap this off real quick before I forget. I think just put oil in it, and pray that I got the tune close enough to fire up. We're not going to run it for very long because there's no water or anything going through it. Oh yeah, and I got to put some fuel in. I grabbed 5 gallons of E85, toss in it. We should be pretty darn close, man. I think the main thing that's going to really hold us back is if there's any leaks that I can't really fix, or if the tune is just drastically far off. So we got some of that nice Shell Rotella racing oil. Some people swear by this stuff, some people absolutely despise it, but for 18 bucks, hard to beat it. I'm going to pull the blanket off from underneath. Yeah, pull the blanket off from underneath so we can see any oil leaks, which, fingers crossed, there shouldn't be. Uh-oh, I see a drip. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. No! Fuck. Alright, where's that coming from? What the fuck? So I am a complete Dumas, and there's a huge, like, turbo drain on the other side that I forgot about and was just wide open. I forgot that I had to weld one on this side, because normally these engines are turned the other way for a front-wheel drive car. So what I ended up doing, I had a fitting very similar to this that I cut the end off, and now I am tapping it for an 1/8" plug, and going to thread seal the end of it, the threads, to take up a little bit of the space, because I don't think it's an NPT fitting or port. I think it might be like a 10AN ORB, I think. So that should work. It's not going to be permanent. Yeah, it might end up being permanent, honestly. But that is our solution, so I'm going to get this finished up. Just wanted you guys to see what was going on and my absolute genius MacGyvering here. And I'm going to get all this mess cleaned up. All right. All we've got to do, we got to take this wire, touch it over to the positive for the battery. That'll be our switch 12-volt source for right now, and then crank it over and hope it fires up. At least it runs.
Yep.
Got to fix the fuel line that blew off the top of the tank. Almost sounded like a rocker, unfortunately, on the front side. It ran. Yeah. It does run. I don't think I showed you guys, but on the top of the fuel tank, it blew the line off once it built up pressure. So that's very unfortunate, because these tanks are such a pain in the ass. And naturally, I just put 5 gallons in it. But we got a runner. It really wasn't too loud either.
No, it's pretty quiet.
I thought it would have been a lot louder.
Most turbos are pretty damn quiet. I'm amazed how quiet Jack is.
Oh, actually, that noise I heard might have been an exhaust leak. I think there's only 2 or 3 bolts holding that header in over there.
Oh. Yeah, that could have been.
That could be.
Yeah.
Alright, now just all the little shit that's going to take another year. Alright, Fiero is alive, and it sounded pretty decent, all things considered. So, a few little things to fix. Fuel line at the top of the tank. Man, I hate I hate dropping that thing. It is such a pain in the ass. So got to drop that, get that fixed, figure out why it blew that line off. I really thought it would have blown it off at the filter regulator, because I got one fitting there that's kind of jank, but apparently it held there, and you know what? I bet I know what it is, but I'll save that for a surprise for myself later on. It was a lot quieter than I thought it was going to be, which is pretty nice. And man, just a handful of things to do. Like I said, fix the fuel tank, wire up the water pump, and run the radiator hoses, stuff like that. Top off the fluids, replace that plug on the oil pan, vacuum lines, and this thing should be a runner. Hell yeah, brother. I am stoked. Wish I knew what the oil pressure was, but it has to be pretty decent because the plug here was starting to weep. So we had to have some sort of decent oil pressure. I'll have to pull that out and put like a thread locker or something on it, thread sealer. So hope you guys enjoyed the video. Thank you for watching. Thank you for subscribing, clicking that bell, and I'll see you guys next time.